The main concern, first of all, is the ice issue being on the grounds. If I get snatched up by ice, who's going to take care of my family? And what's going to happen to my personal property, such as homes, vehicles?
America, Friday night, 2,000 workers at SoFi Stadium voted on whether or not to walk off the job or not 6 days before the U.S. plays its first World Cup game in 32 years. That fear that you just heard, it's real. And now remember who built it. 846 million of your tax dollars are already spent to guard the World Cup. Spent. Gone. Finito burrito. No refunds. You paid for the wall of security around the stadium, and the people working inside just voted on whether or not to serve a hot dog or not. And here's the part that's absolutely wild. The union wants ICE, the agency that you just paid for, to guard the outside of the building, ban it from inside of the building. The same agency, your money, both sides, and the politicians who took the check are the ones now trying to throw out the cops that came with it. That's Karen Bass's city, the mayor who drove 12 miles to MacArthur Park back in July in that beautiful mint green suit, full camera crew, and she never showed up to that same park in May when federal agents pulled out 19 kilos of Fenty off the street and a Sinaloa cartel crew out of her own backyard. Cameras for the protest, nothing for the cartel. 2,000 working people watched your pick. So did I. What is up, guys? Tyson DeLaCruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Quick thing first, because the name fools you. A strike authorization vote is not a strike. It is the workers handing their bosses a loaded gun. Whether it goes off depends on one thing here: what happens on Monday when they sit back down and talk. And you're probably asking yourself, Tyson, who are they talking to? They're not talking to the World Cup. They're not going to be talking to FIFA. A company called Legends Global. They run the food and drinks at the stadium. 2,000 cooks, bartenders, servers, dishwashers, no contract in over a year. That's the real fight under the ICE headlines in California this week. And the folks running the city are absolutely thrilled that you're staring at the headlines that say ICE against California and SoFi Stadium. Watch what the union rep says this is really about.
Authorize a strike 8 days before the venue's first World Cup match. Their union says Legends Global, the stadium's food service operator, is offering wage freezes for some workers.
14 months, no real contract, and those fancy box seats at the game, up to $100,000 a night to watch soccer. $100,000 a night. So what raise did the company offer the people carrying the food up to those boxes? Guess. Take a little guess. Quarter, 25 cents. They offered them 25 cents additional an hour. Picture that. They sell out a suite for $100,000, you guys. Then they look at the woman bringing up the trays with the bacon wrapped hot dogs and the tacos and whatever steak sandwiches, whatever they got going on. And then they just slide her a quarter across the table. That is not a tight budget. That is a company betting these workers have nowhere else to go and nobody with power to actually fight against them. And for 14 months, they absolutely bet right. Every big shot in this city was too busy with the cameras to walk into that room and fight for an American paycheck. Then the ICE story handed those workers the one thing that the politicians never did: a way to fight back.
But a possible strike of around 2,000 concession and hospitality workers employed by Legends Global at SoFi Stadium is adding uncertainty to the buildup. Yolanda Fierro is the suites runner at SoFi Stadium.
That quote-unquote bad look hits three people. The company that sat these workers for over a year, FIFA, now eating strike headlines a week before kickoff. And every politician who spent over a year and a half building a name on fighting the feds, because the workers, you guys, they posed and they are now holding the match. And no press conference puts it out. Now the ICE part here, you guys, and this is where the whole thing cracks under 5 seconds of just plain thinking. Here's the demand. FIFA has to promise ICE never sets foot in the stadium during a game. Not careful, not picky, the entire agency, the whole agency locked out. Two things are true at the same time here, and I'm going to give you both of them so you can understand. The workers' fear here is real, and somebody built it on purpose. Over a year and a half of camera stunts because the politicians, the people in California, they needed an enemy, and the demand itself is impossible. You're asking a soccer league to overrule federal agents working under an order that the president signed. FIFA can't do that. A catering company sure as heck can't do that. They're begging the wrong people for the only thing that Washington controls.
In regards to civil immigration enforcement, they told us that specifically would not be occurring at any of the games. Any of that subject to change, but I have trust that they're giving me the appropriate information, because if that starts occurring, we're going to have a whole new host of problems.
The top cop in the county picked up the phone, called the feds, got a straight answer, and said on camera, no deportation raids at the game. That's the real promise from the man whose county the stadium actually sits in. But here's what the promise can't cover and why it actually matters. ICE has two halves here. One does deportations. That's the half the sheriff is talking about, and it's already off the table. The other half hunts human traffickers, child PDFs, and the cartel. So say the union demands out loud and slow. They're not fighting to stop deportation raids. Those are gone. They're fighting to keep the cops out who catch the traffickers and the cartel. The same kind of crew federal agents just dragged out of Karen Bass's own backyard. Think about what they're really asking when they say they want to keep ICE out. You're not saving a dishwasher or a person who cooks hot dogs on the grill at the stadium. They're building a wall for the cartel to hide behind. And that fear got twisted into lock people out who fight against the cartels. It didn't fall from the sky. Somebody built it. Now, I've been building this through this video because I need you guys to understand what's coming up next. And this is the part that they really don't want you to see. Karen Bass, or Karen Basuro, what Spencer Pratt calls her. MacArthur Park, July. 12 miles. Remember that mint green suit? ICE agents, cameras absolutely everywhere. Big, huge national story. She called it Standing Up for People. May, same park, if you guys remember. If you haven't seen that video, I'll place it somewhere on the screen. You can check it out after this video. The same 12 miles, federal agents take down the Sinaloa cartel crew right there at MacArthur Park. 19 kilos of Fenty off the streets, enough to poison and kill the entire stadium full of people, cartel members in cuffs. One of the absolute worst drug pipelines in her city shut down completely. She turned down the interview, no statement. The councilman for that spot ducked it too. Not a one of them said a word on camera. Homan said it out loud in public. Bass's answer was the mint green suit and the camera crew. But my friends, when the federal agents got the real win in that same park just a few months later, the bus that actually kept her people from dying in the streets, her answer was absolutely nothing. It was silent. So here is what those stadium workers really learned over a year and a half. Not the government is scary here, you guys. Something a little bit sharper. A lady running their city sprints to the cameras when fighting ICE. It makes a good story. And Californians, most of them, at least the Dems, they lean behind it. And goes dead quiet when fighting crime gets actual real results. Her help only points one direction and one way, towards the lens of ICE. And when working people watch help only point at the cameras, fear stops being crazy and starts being a little smart. Smart fear stuck inside a dead 14-month contract is exactly what builds the strike vote 6 days before the World Cup. That is the link here. Not a fact on court paper, but the one those workers lived.
What we're doing is we're asking that FIFA not share our information or data with any of the ICE agencies, foreign countries, or intelligence agencies. We cannot celebrate the World Cup while workers, the tourists, and our immigrant families and local communities are made to feel unsafe in Los Angeles.
Here's the solid piece, not a feeling, a paper trail. To work the games, FIFA makes you hand over your fingerprints and your social security number. And the union with the ACLU out there sent a letter to California's top lawyer claiming FIFA then passes all that straight to the feds. I'm going to be completely straight with you because this channel runs on receipts. If that data claim holds up, it's a real fight. But look at who's missing from this entire mess. Karen Bass. She ran in this city. She won on the votes of the very people now scared to clock in. The fear running through her workers, and the mayor said absolutely nothing about it. No statement, no phone call to FIFA. The same silence that she gave the cartel bust in MacArthur Park. The same move, a new week. She'll fight the feds all day when there's cameras facing and she can make a statement and play political theater. But when her own people need her in the room with no camera, that greasy afro ain't nowhere to be found. Los Angeles took $846 million. The crash is Friday's vote, so it's right there in the record. The deportation half is gone. The trafficker and the cartel half is still in. The union's lawyers absolutely know it, which means their whole written demand is aimed at the one half that hunts the worst people alive. I'm going to repeat that just in case you didn't hear that. The thing that they are fighting hardest to keep out of the stadium is a unit that protects the people inside. That, my friends, is what sanctuary thinking does to your head. It turns the cops into enemies and just waves the cartel right through the gates. Here's the door that actually opens on Monday. Not the ICE demand. Nobody in that room can grant it. We're talking about the wages, the quarter against the $30, the fight that started all of this 14 months ago before anybody made it about immigration. Watch why.
ICE agents receive a high level of training. And, the ICE agents are assigned at many airports across the country already. They do a lot of criminal investigation on smuggling at airports. But, there's got TS agents covering exits, people that enter through the exits. We do immigration enforcement at airports all the time. So is that going to change? It's not going to change. This is about helping the men and women of TSA. They've lost several hundred employees.
Federal agents at a big public event is old news, set by federal law, not by a deal between stadium food vendors and food companies and cooks. A catering crew cannot erase ICE in a union contract. The only door that they can actually open is it's called the money door, okay? And that's the real one. Buried 14 months ago under a 25-cent insult, dug back up this week by one issue loud enough to shake a real number loose through the headlines from a company that thought nobody was watching. ICE in LA. Trust me, you guys, the union bosses know exactly what they're doing. The ICE demand got the cameras. The cameras forced the wage numbers. That's the plan here. And the workers whose real fear got used to fuel, they earn that $30 if it lands on Monday. They earn it long before their fear turned into a weapon and long before the politicians in this city decided that their paycheck mattered less than a photo. America, here's what nobody laid out and what Karen Bass owns, no matter which way the thing flips on Monday. If the company pays up, the strike dies. The games happen, hot dogs, hamburgers, nachos, cold beer, no cameras outside. The company eats the number it should have paid a year ago. The workers go home with a real paycheck, clean and simple. If the talks break, the picket lines go up, 70,000 fans walk past striking workers, a billion plus people walking around the world, and FIFA quietly starts asking if they'll ever want to trust this city again. No press conference can ever fix that. Either way, the doors are hers because this was never really about ICE, and it never was about ICE. It was about a city that grabbed $846 million in federal money, by the way, then spent a year and a half teaching its own workers to fear the same government that's writing the checks. To score points, to feed a brand, to keep the cameras coming, they built the fear. They cashed the money. They left 2,000 working people to a company handing out quarters as a raise. And then the cartel set up shop in the mayor's own park. The same woman who drove 12 miles for a protest can't seemingly find the address. That, my friends, is the entire con. They don't hate the federal government. They hate getting caught actually needing it. They want the security check and the sanctuary slogan, the federal check and the federal villain. They want you, they want the taxpayer to pay both sides of the fight that they started for the cameras. They brought the World Cup here because they needed the federal money. They're keeping ICE out because they built a city and they can't explain why. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.